Welcome back to CBTV. I'm Mike Braham. In our last segment, we discussed the best ways to obtain funding and about the changing lending landscape. To continue along those lines, we welcome back Richard Ashe, a professor and executive director of the Allen B. Miller Center for Entrepreneurship. And joining us now is Delphine Carnes, a partner in the law firm of Crenshaw, Ware, and Martin, specializing in project finance, real estate, and tax law. Delphine, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
When we were talking in the session before, it was that you all really are emphasizing the need for a team, and you're specializing in financing. And you mentioned that really to pull together a finance team, we might look outside of this area and really building a very comprehensive team. Can you kind of help us understand how you see about putting together a finance team?
Sure. In the types of products that I work with, we can bring investors from all around the nation. And it really depends on the type of project we're trying to finance. If it's, let's say, an affordable housing project, we may use the low-income housing tax credit program. For a mixed-use project or commercial project, we can use new markets tax credits, which is a fairly new tool to help finance projects, rehab, as well as new construction. And then if it's a historic structure, we can use historic tax credits. And all of these tax credits can basically be syndicated and sold to investors who come from all over the nation.
Okay. And so as this would fit into building, I'll say, a portfolio of funding devices, this would be cumulative and part of either a banking and or an equity type of environment as well?
That's right. You could combine a variety of sources of funds. We usually start with a lender, preferably a local bank when the borrower has an existing relationship with a bank. But then we grow from there and bring into the deal a tax credit investor. We can also bring some tax-exempt bonds. So it really depends on the needs of the project and how the facility that they're trying to build, let's say, is defined, what they're trying to accomplish.
Okay. And Dick, as you're talking to your students at William & Mary, and you're trying to define, or really to help them understand what are these different devices, what's the best way that you like to share with me as a new student, you might say, to understand equity, the lending that the that the bank is, and then also where Delphine worlds work?
Well, you've got three basic stages. You've got equity. And equity is where the investors will invest in your company or your project, and they will take back an equity interest, that is a piece of the particular project. Those negotiations are usually fairly hard because of valuation questions. Also, most astute investors, other than friends, fools, and family, right, will disguise the equity as debt through a preferred stock or something to that effect. Debt is exactly as we all know it. Different types of debt, if you just trade debt, that's a unique type of debt. But the normal debt that people look to is bank debt. And at which point in time, the bankers are lending you money. Basically, it will always be collateralized now. And I don't think the days of no personal guarantees are around anymore. Right. So it's something you must pay back, and you've got to know that your business has enough cash flow to be able to cover the debt service, and you don't have a problem. The third one are alternative types of equity. Those include leverage buyouts, private equity, and other types of investments that may be tax sheltered. And it's a different world altogether. But most of the things you're seeing on Wall Street now are private equity deals or LBOs, and those are the real big ones.
Are there any tools or locations, whether it be websites or books or other things that even you guys could help recommend for the people that want to follow up after this to better understand this financing world? Are there any tools that you guys typically send people to say help understand?
Depending on what the borrower is looking for, there are several tools that are specific to the type of tax credit program that they're dealing with. Some of them are affiliated with the government. For instance, for the New Markets Tax Credit Program, the CDFI fund, which is the branch of the Treasury that administers the New Markets Tax Credits, has a great website with a lot of really good resources to get started and get more familiar with the program. Because I think you're right, there's a lot of misunderstanding maybe in the community or just lack of knowledge about what's out there, what are the tools that are available.
Okay. And if, like, I love this one book that's called Getting to Yes. If I'm putting together a new project or a new company, let's say, ultimately I'm coming to 1, 2, or 3 different people, 3 different entities essentially, and trying to get to yes. You said, most importantly, you got to ask the question. You got to ask for the order.
Oh, absolutely.
What are those things that would help you to answer yes to a guy like myself that's going to go start something new and coming to you all? How do I get to yes to you all?
Well, first of all, it's easy to get to yes if you can use your professional guidance, if you will. Attorneys, accountants, a good introduction to the investors is very important. You can also get that from someone who the investor has previously invested with.
Okay.
So that comes in with, if you will, the indemnification, not indemnification, but the blessings of whomever. The other thing is, I want to make sure that you have done all your due diligence in your business plan, because we're going to do the same thing.
Right.
That business plan, again, becomes so very important. And if you're competing against other deals, that executive summary that I mentioned in the first half becomes important. You've got to tell your story in a very quick period of time. But it is a sales document. You've got to understand that business plan is a sales document to an investor or to a lender.
Okay, so it's telling the story.
Must.
I mean, you must be able to tell the story, back it up with facts, back it up with past experience if you can. Right now, as we see the markets and as we're seeing the entree into new business opportunities, where might be recommendations that you all would see in this environment and in this Hampton Roads localities that maybe we could try to inspire new businesses? Or we also, as a part of the thing, we talked about growing an existing business. Is there any certain tool, is there any certain time that someone that's expanding the business should look to equity, should look to a bank, or should look to alternatives if you're going to expand an existing business?
Well, the expansion you might want to take on.
Right, to expand an existing business, I think it depends on what the borrower is looking for, what the project wants to accomplish, and depending on the type of expansion. But I think it's always helpful for someone to talk to their accountant and their attorneys, and then we can help lead the project towards the right source of funding. I think it's all about creating the right team and having the right network, because we can make introductions, we can help guide people onto the right path.
Okay. And those would be services that would also be paid for. You would have to go and expect that if I'm asking for that there is, I'm paying for a service, or that you'd be included in some part of the deal itself. That's not free.
Well, it really depends. You know, I also give a lot of free advice. A lot of people attend conferences that are, subject matter specific to learn more about certain topics, and there's always a lot of free recommendations given during those conferences. So not everything has to be paid for. It really depends at what stage of the relationship you are. Obviously, if someone comes to me and wants more help and wants really some day-to-day guidance moving forward, then yes, they would hire me as their attorney, and I expect to be paid for what I do.
Absolutely.
One of the things that we're doing at William & Mary right now is through our entrepreneurship center, the Allen B. Miller Entrepreneurship Center, is we're putting together programs that will offer certificates, training, leadership abilities to reach out to the community and to people that are starting their businesses. To me, there would be nothing worse than either retiring or going through old age, sitting back, rocking myself to sleep on a porch, drooling and wondering, could I have really done it? Should I have taken a shot? And I would like to get those people that are interested in any type of business, take the shot when you can.
Awesome. Well, those are great encouraging words as we end. Thank you all so much for being a part of this segment, and thank you for the leadership that you've demonstrated in each of your all's industries and for being a part of our community today.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having us.
I'll be back with a final thought on the subject, but first, more insights from the Cox Business Executive Discussion Series. Stay with us.
No matter what stage you are in business, your plan is of utmost importance. People sometimes think that putting that down on paper, all the work that it takes to get a plan in place, is just superfluous. It's just the opposite. It is the necessary roadmap to convince others what you know, and you believe that you're going to be successful.